This is a story with many facets. Varied, twisting side channels lead to the central core and current. Often it is considered a city story. But this is a misconception, for parts of it frequently reach into small towns and villages. This is a story of a problem that knows no boundaries. It spreads beyond city limits and county lines. It crosses state borders without discrimination. And parts of it stretch past the boundaries of our own nation into the vast, intangible areas of other countries. Thus, part of the story is here. And sometimes seemingly disconnected, apparently having no relation to other parts of the story, another facet may show itself here. And another side may be here. And still another part here. Yet, independent as each episode may seem, they all lead toward the central theme, toward one end. Hooked. A monkey on her back. Hophead. Junkie. Hype. There's no shortage of words in the jargon to identify her. They all add up to the same thing. And she knows better than anyone what they really mean. The end of the world. A fix, a few grams of narcotics is the sole object and purpose in life. But this end must have a beginning, a place in time back through the years, where the stage is set. Beyond this point, the drives and emotions that will lead toward the end are molded. But in the beginning, God created man in his own image, strong and sound in mind and body. And the body begins to grow. And the mind takes form and learns. But sometimes there are defects in the pattern of learning. Errors, misunderstandings, and many times negligence. Young minds and emotions are held firm by love and a picture of security. They cannot understand the complexities of life. It is the duty of the adult to introduce these complexities with a careful teaching hand. They must always remember that reason is the gift of adulthood, which youth has not yet learned. Youth feels life just as they see it, and they react to those feelings. Thus, a problem takes root, and a beginning is established. But no single incident makes a problem. They are born of many errors.
Mother! Mom! Sorry I won't be able to get home for dinner again tonight. Forgot about the club meeting. Plenty in the refrigerator. Father called. He'll be home next week. See you tomorrow. Mother.
Time. Hours of loneliness. And these hours unfold into days, weeks, months, years, in which the young mind probes and experiments with life. Youth is hungry and eager to grow into the cherished dream of adulthood. But left to itself, that growth is unchanneled. The adult tools are available, but without the guiding hand to teach their proper use. To the young person, the mere use of these tools symbolizes the arrival into the grown-up world, a dream world where dependency is ended and loneliness can be conquered. And youth finds it can make its own decisions despite inexperience and hide any lack of security. And adding appeal to the situation, the unsupervised adolescent playing the make-believe role of adult easily finds companions to join in the game and perhaps introduce new rules. In any group playing a clandestine game, there is likely to be one or two who have advanced into even more forbidden areas. Bigger kicks. Drugs. Narcotics addiction frequently follows a pattern of gradual addiction to different drugs. Often the introduction comes in the form of a goofball. These are barbiturates. Ones in common use are seconal, nembutal, and luminol. These are legitimate medications when prescribed by a physician. He understands their use and potential dangers, especially to those who may have an allergy toward any or all of them. Here, an untrained youth dispenses them to persons about whom he knows nothing. Barbiturates are sedatives and hypnotics with depressant effects. To help offset the sedative effect, barbiturates are sometimes taken in conjunction with amphetamine, such as benzodrine and dexedrine. These are opposites, and the body fights to remain normal. Instinct or a natural fear of drugs may inhibit the user in making the initial experiment. But those adept in the use of drugs understand this fear and make a concentrated effort to break it down. They may comfort or deride the novice. But whatever the method, the purpose and desire is to bring another member into the illicit fold. The situation is expanding. It is no longer simply a family problem, a community or social problem. Although it is all of these things, it is now also an enforcement problem. Not only for specially trained agents, but for every field officer. Narcotics are associated with a wide variety of crimes: robbery, homicide, burglary, vice, and morals. The annals report that over 75% of all crimes today are in some way motivated by drug use. The symptoms of barbiturate addiction are slow, confused thinking and defective judgment, emotional instability, lack of coordination in walking, tremors and involuntary oscillation of the eyes, with the inability to hold a fixed position.
What's going on here?
The question that must be answered is why this situation arose. Yet, like too many parents and other adults, the attack is on the symptoms, not the cause. Primary attention is on the condition of the house, the material loss, the opinions of neighbors. The tirade storms on without sympathy or understanding, thrusting cruel barbs into already opened wounds. But this time, the barbs have been dulled. The pain is eased. The goofball has won a friend. She has found a crutch to see her through her difficulties instead of facing up to them and coping with them. The goofball worked, and in time she may be ready to try something different. something better. Jive, marry, grifo, grass, hay. Technically, it's cannabis sativa, the common name, marijuana. It grows 4 to 20 feet in height. The fruit, resembling seeds, appear at the tip. The plant is cut, and the fruit and vegetation in this area is used to produce a narcotic cigarette. After the plant has matured, it is topped. That is, the usable portions cut off. The leaves are then stripped and dried. Drying is generally done under the eaves of a building or a similar area where the heat will be intense, yet not in direct sunlight. The marijuana leaf, the long, slender fingers pointed at both ends, are characterized by the serrated edges. Tiny hairs and resin on the leaf make it sticky to the touch. On the underside, a central vein runs up the middle of the leaf. Smaller hair-like veins extend out from this central vein to the serrated edges. The sticky resin is gelatinous in nature and is the cannabin, which is the narcotic of the plant. The leaves always have an odd number of finger-like blades, numbering from 5 to 13, appearing on each mature leaf. The flowering tops shown here above the leaves have their own distinguishing features. The tops appear in a cluster formation enveloping the fruit or seeds. These tops are the portion of the plant most desired by those in the illegal traffic. An established connection in the suburbs, a rendezvous prearranged by telephone. A narcotics user is often very wary and suspicious. His primary concern, second only to desire and his need for the drug, is his fear of detection. Marijuana has various stages of preparation. The rough stuff is usually bought in kilos, 2 2/10 pounds. It has a value of about $125 to $200 per bulk kilo. Sometimes the raw material is packed in pound quantities and sold for about $60 to $90 per bulk pound. Used tobacco cans become innocent victims of this racket. Both brown wheat paper and regular white cigarette paper are used to roll the sticks, joints, or reefers, as the cigarettes are often called. The matchstick or nail file is commonly used to tuck in the ends of the cigarettes after they are rolled. The premium part of the marijuana plant is the flowering top. These clusters enfolding the seeds contain the essence of the drug, the condensed cannabinol. The tops packed in a tobacco can have a wholesale value of about $15. They will finally produce 60 to 75 cigarettes, which sell at about $1 each. When the marijuana has been topped and dried, it is ready for the final preparation, manicuring. The leaves and other dried matter are rubbed into fine pieces. In a careful operation, all stems, seeds, and other rough matter are removed, leaving only the pulverized leaves. Even in this final stage, marijuana is easily recognized. Its texture and greenish color clearly distinguish it from tobacco. The cigarettes are usually rolled in a double thickness of paper. This prevents rough stems from piercing the wrapper. This is especially important since they will probably pass through many hands before reaching the ultimate user. The ends of the cigarette are tucked in to prevent the loose, dry contents from spilling out. The finished product, the reefer, easily distinguished from an ordinary cigarette. Now the contact is complete. The buy is made. A major crime is mushrooming on an officer's beat. Yet, unlike other crimes, there is no victim who will enlist his aid and call his attention to the crime. This marks the peculiar nature of the narcotics problem. He must detect the crime as well as the criminal. At all hours of the day and night, the problem expands behind the wall of silence. Even as the officer makes his rounds, a new victim goes anxiously into seclusion for her introduction to the drug. Unlike a tobacco cigarette, marijuana does not have burning agents. Therefore, constant smoking is required to keep it. For effect, the lungs are first filled with the smoke. Then a final mouthful is taken and inhaled with air. Some smoke is swallowed. It is held in for as long as possible to get the maximum effect. Sometimes the cigarette is held slightly away from the mouth, and with deep inhalations, smoke and air are sucked in at the same time. Whatever the method, the novice must be taught. The effects are unpredictable, appearing generally similar to overindulgence in alcohol. But the subject may become dangerous, and inflicting wounds may even seem comical to him. Inhibitions are relieved, and the user is extremely susceptible to suggestions. Delirium, increased imagination, hallucinations often follow. The eyes dilate. Dimensions and depth perception are greatly affected by this drug. A single step may appear as a cliff. Activity is usually cautious and studied. Time perception is impaired by marijuana. Time seems to fly, and fast action seems slow for the addict. The seed of a major problem is planted, and with the rise of the sun on each new day, it grows larger, like a silent cancer in the community. But there is a counterforce through which the crime must move. The beat officer, friendly, courteous, observant, suspicious. The beat is his life, and it is a world of minute details. He knows the faces, the streets, the shops, and the alleys. He knows of the druggist's rheumatism and how trash cans are placed in the alleys. Here, a malt shop on his beat has opened under new management. The officer casually moves in to familiarize himself with this new element.
Wait on, man.
You want to get high? Johnny's got some pot.
Shut up. There's heat in here.
Beat officers strive to learn jargons, for such knowledge often helps them grasp the atmosphere of a place or situation. Here, in a passing moment, this officer realizes that he has heard narcotic slang. The former owners were an old couple who operated a quiet, pleasant teenage hangout, the place to meet after school or have a malt after the movie. It was a place where the officer had friends. Now, changed, a wild beginning, a place to watch at any rate. He is careful to conceal his suspicions, but the few brief words have focused his attention on possible narcotics traffic, and he will be alert for further indications on his rounds. A casual exit through the rear door leading to the parking lot provides a complete picture of the new malt shop. He observes changes both inside and out in his world of detail. The pusher on his rounds casually awaits the customer's signal to make contact. Both addict and pusher protect each other even though they exchange no mutual respect. Each depends upon the other, and so they cooperate. The buy is set, and the pusher must get to his supply casually without any obvious act. In this case, he moves away simply to remove the sticks from his cigarette pack. Even the most casual observation is feared. Anyone could blow the whistle, so play it cool. That is the basic idea behind all transactions. The money has been placed between pages of the magazine. The page is dog-eared. The pusher changes cigarettes for money, leaving his merchandise inside. The connection has been made. They've scored. The users, the heads, the tea-blowers hurry off to use their buy. Frequently, a user acquires his marijuana by pushing the drug himself. According to the records, one user will introduce 5 newcomers. Users now go to a place where the tea can be smoked with relative safety. The spot has already been chosen, one used before with success. A dead-end alley, safe from the danger of observation even from casual passers-by. Windows are usually closed and a confined area used. This both prevents the distinctive odor from drifting out and preserves the precious smoke for its maximum effect. One reefer at a time is usually consumed by a group, and a non-user could become contact high from smoke. The car and the occupants were observed at the malt shop. The officer is quietly alert to their activity. The marijuana addict, unlike most other narcotic users, prefers company when smoking the drug. Thus, tea parties and getting high together is a common event for them. Nothing unusual, a car parked in an alleyway, a driver and 2 passengers. But to the officer, whose suspicions are already aroused, there is something unusual. On a warm, sunny afternoon, all the windows are rolled tight shut. One distinctive mark of a marijuana party. Even as the tea party progresses, the young pusher awaits more customers for his poison. They know where to find the pusher. This customer, though, is not an addict, but the girl to whom the pusher introduced the weed. She is still a novice, but has found marijuana more gratifying than the goofballs she was used to. And sometimes she will use them in combination. Typically, she comes now burdened with depression from another family argument. She searches the new means of escape that the boy has shown her. She wants one now, just one. She's way down. He knows the feeling, not a physical need, but a mental craving. The misery of not having a crutch. The novice must be schooled in the finer points. Care must be taken in choosing the place where marijuana is smoked. Not only is the method of smoking peculiar to the drug, but the odor is unmistakable, similar to burning alfalfa. At night, it is distinguished, too, by the fact that it burns much brighter than an ordinary cigarette. Not a cash deal now, but a few more samples and she'll be ready to buy. A regular... Near the scene of the party, officers prepare to investigate, using care not to attract attention. Avenues of escape are cut off. Special procedure is used in a narcotics arrest. Hands are the primary concern. Many narcotics suspects will attempt to destroy evidence even after capture. When possible, the hands are held until they are examined or cuffed. Officers must expect and anticipate a variety of tricks. Before the suspect is taken from the car, it is established that the ground is clean. Anything that falls there is his. A desperate move may come at any moment. A known strategy of the narco suspect is to carry drugs in a pocket with the bottom cut out. When he stands, the evidence falls to the ground, where he disclaims it. The narcotics prisoner is handcuffed with hands behind and palms out. This hinders any attempt to get at evidence hidden on his person. And in the case of the heroin addict, it prevents him from scratching or burning needle marks or scars. Once cuffed, the boy is searched for weapons and drugs. Evidence is established before the suspect as it is found. Before the second boy is removed from the car, the driver is restrained by putting him in a temporary window pillory position to avoid escape. In making any arrest, officers know that even a momentary slip can bring sudden death. This danger becomes enormous in the case of a narcotics arrest, since the suspect may be under the influence of a drug and lack normal human reason and inhibition. Officers dare not make a careless move. The thorough search for evidence continues. For the teenagers, the arrest is terrifying. Yet, paradoxically, arrest may be their one hope, the thing that could deter their fall into the inescapable dungeons of addiction. For though goofballs and marijuana are dangerous in their own right, their menace is increased by the fact that they are often the introduction to drug use, and they lead like stepping stones toward the use of more treacherous drugs. This roach, this butt, hidden in a match pack, is a symbol of the endless cost of drugs. Special procedure is used with a woman suspect. She is given a strong warning that she will be searched in jail by a matron or physician, and until the search is made, she will be held under constant surveillance. When her position is clear, a woman will frequently surrender the drugs rather than let them be found by search. Officers know that narcotics are often secreted in body cavities, especially by female offenders. The young girl considers her escape as luck, for she flees back into a society where even at this moment, more vicious traps are being laid within the seemingly innocent confines of the malt shop itself. Heroin. The power and danger of addiction to this drug are so great that its importation and manufacture in the United States has been outlawed, even for medical use, since 1925. Today, it is smuggled into this country by organizations usually having international ties. Such groups sell the heroin in quantities of a pound or a kilo to large-scale pushers, such as this one operating within the suburban community. The pusher breaks his pound or kilo into smaller quantities, packing it in various containers. This finger stall holds about 1/4 ounce. Heroin sifts down through many middlemen between smuggler and addict. At each step of the way, the drug is cut, that is, diluted, usually with lactose, milk sugar. The original buyer makes 2 or 3 kilos from 1 kilo of pure heroin. Here, the pusher cuts the already diluted drug again. The cap. This is the quantity and the object on which the addict bases his daily life. It will be further adulterated before it reaches him. The smaller peddlers will cut thereby, and the mule who delivers the drug between pusher and addict will probably steal a small portion. The addict may even take his buy, cut it again, and resell it. The cap is made by pressing 1/2 into the mixture, closing it with the empty half, and flicking it to spread the powder into both sides. A pusher operating on this level sells quantities from 1 gram to 1 or 2 ounces. A common package for his wares is the bindle. It is simply a paper folded in such a manner that all ends are tucked in to prevent the drug from spilling out. A 1 gram bindle will sell for about $25. It will be cut, made into 10 caps, and sold for about $50 on the street. Price is always dependent upon quality. But on the street, the heroin in various containers on this table will eventually sell for over $45,000. So the stuff is packed, ready for the buyers, the smaller pushers, the addicts, and perhaps new victims still unaware of their fate. In the midst of large-scale narcotics operations, the apprehension of 3 juvenile marijuana users may seem a minor event. Enforcement officers know the importance of the arrest in the overall problem. Narcotics users often talk freely when apprehended, and one arrest can start a chain reaction. Word of the arrest must be spread. She goes immediately to the marijuana pusher, the one who introduced her to the drug, her friend. The news is like an alarm. If they think on them, the pushers will be the ones they sell out. He asks for the owner of the shop, the heroin pusher, the big man. He talks with a small pusher, a client, who is also an addict. They just busted a tea party in the alley. The pusher wants news of the arrest. The immediate suspicion. Maybe somebody informed, ratted on them. The boy vouches for the newcomer in the group, the girl. They accept her. The pusher advises the boy to hide any stuff he is holding. And in a typical move, he convinces the novice that she will not be suspect. Actually, he places her in jeopardy to clear himself. The pusher's final word, hide and wait. And so they flee. But they leave the young girl, a marijuana user, a novice, holding the evidence of a serious felony. The addict, shrewd, cunning, sees his chance. He offers her a place to hide. In her fear that borders on panic, she grasps at the offer of protection. Plan takes form. Narcotic operators are extremely cautious and wary. This pusher formerly owned a pool hall, but such enterprises were gaining too much attention from narcotics enforcement officers, and he moved his operation to a teenage malt shop. He sells only to small pushers and out the back door. Now, with the arrest of the 3 juveniles, he knows the chances are great that at least one will talk. But he is familiar with the rules of evidence, and he takes quick steps to make himself and his establishment clean. In the depths of the city, the addict leads his hopeful conquest to his pad, his room. The girl, though uneasy in these surroundings, moves on, driven by the fear of detection and arrest. It is a typical dwelling of a hype, a junkie. He needs only a roof. All other money, every dime, must be reserved for the most important thing in life, heroin. Behavior approaching paranoia is characteristic of the addict. On entering a room, he locks the door, pulls blinds, and checks other rooms to assure himself that he is not being watched. Often, driven by a fear that he is under scrutiny, he will change lodgings time after time without reason. Assured of safety, he suggests that they blast a stick or two. This is the first step in his cautious plan. His real goal is to introduce her to heroin. This is typical. Get a few young girls hooked and dependent upon him for their daily ration of stuff. In return, they work for him, usually as prostitutes. The arrangement is then mutual. They get their heroin, and he has an income. The hype is long past receiving any real effects from marijuana. His body has been conditioned to the most powerful drug of all. But for the moment, it suits his purpose to play the game and feign friendship. She is familiar with marijuana and accepts it eagerly. She will relax, become high, and drop the guard of inhibitions. The tea, in effect, will be his ally in the plan. He makes no effort to introduce heroin yet. He takes every precaution against frightening her. He builds her confidence and waits for the drug to take command of her reasoning powers. And he makes every effort to wipe out the unpleasant events of the day, the raid on the car, the police. And he builds a new atmosphere, friendship, two of a kind, a party. He works on the new mood, a ball, fun. But with all drugs, fun, enjoyment is an invention of the mind, simulated in the dream world of escape. But outside the shabby room in the stark world of reality, swift action is the key. The young pusher, frightened and suspicious, prepares to flee. He takes a stash of tea previously hidden in the bumper of his car. In every narcotics arrest, an officer faces the threat of death. Every move is cautious, planned. He must keep alert, watch for any quick or sudden move. The officer gives primary attention to the hands, cuffing them behind the suspect with palms out. He keeps a distance between them, a safety margin. The fact that this boy may be under the influence of a drug increases every danger. The suspect is put off balance for the moment needed to recover the discarded evidence. In a typical move, the boy denies any connection with the marijuana. An immediate search for weapons is made. The officer reports that the suspect is in custody and requests aid in taking him in.
Units 61 and 53, 511 Kent Drive, meet the officer.
The search will be thorough, and the suspect will be kept under close scrutiny until he and his clothing are given a detailed shakedown in jail. But even as officers strike deep into the heart of the problem, it continues to grow and spread beneath the surface. A new victim is being lured into the trap of addiction. High as a kite. The marijuana has done its job well. She can be led now, ready to go along. Casually, he introduces the idea of something stronger, real kicks. He is careful to imply that it's only for himself. She is beyond the protection of normal fear. Even in the midst of his plan, the hype is suspicious, afraid that the young girl will spy and learn one of his hiding places. He watches the door. But it's a needless precaution this time. He knows he must move cautiously now. A careful, easy introduction. First, he plays on her curiosity. Then, step by step, he will lead her into participation. Throughout, he depends upon the tea to help him keep the air of fun, a game. The outfit, the addict's closest companion, but more often a medicine prostitute's. The needle, a spoon, and a small wad of cotton. The hype disregards sterilization. Three caps. He chooses two for his own pop, saving one in the hope that his plan succeeds. He tests the needle to be sure that it isn't clogged. To prepare the solution, he first empties the contents of the caps into the spoon. Heroin comes at a high price, and every tiny grain of the stuff is precious. Anything spilled must be retrieved. A few drops of water are added, just enough to make a solution. It's mixed, but it won't dissolve without heat. Normally, he would prepare and take the pop with amazing speed. But this time, it's a performance meant to amuse and entice. Now, the solution must be cooked. A couple of ordinary matches are usually sufficient to bring the mixture to a boil so it will dissolve. Again, the solution is stirred. A string wrapped around the base of the dropper will hold the needle in place. All sanitary precautions are ignored. The small wad of cotton is placed in the solution to serve as a filter. The stuff is drawn into the dropper through the cotton. The cottons, used several times, are saved, and the hype will boil them for what small quantity of drug they contain when he is caught short and in need of a fix. The pop is ready, and the needle is put in place. Preparations for the actual shot are made by the experienced addict in a matter of a few seconds. He usually ties the tourniquet with his teeth in one hand. Now, though, he asks for help, thus making her participate, drawing her in, preparing her. Her normal reactions would probably be fear, perhaps repulsion. But the marijuana is in command now, and the hype relies upon it heavily. Her reasoning is impaired, and at his careful suggestion, she joins eagerly in the game. But it is a game that ends in a living death. The needle has pierced the vein, and he directs her to loosen the tourniquet to allow the blood to flow. He finishes with a flourish, minimizing the unpleasant aspects. And he builds his feeling, the real kicks. But nobody wants to get high by themselves. Why doesn't she fly with him? He could fix her a little pop. And new roots take form in the secret problem. But the silence that guards the crime and prevents detection has been broken. Enforcement officers, alert and trained for this special problem, move swiftly into action. Having been kept under close watch since his arrest, the young pusher gets a thorough shakedown on his arrival in jail. His secret hiding places in lapels and seams are discovered. His attitude begins to change. He wants to divert the pressure. He considers who and how many he should turn in. The case builds against him, and he makes his desperate decision. He knows a hype, a pusher. There's a girl with him. He probably took her to his pad. With the evidence expanding, trained narcotics officers, either local or regional, should be notified to direct the investigation. Having a previous arrest, the addict pusher is identified from a mugshot. Officers are dispatched to apprehend him, and the chain pattern of arrest that is familiar in narcotics cases continues. This is the crucial moment in the hype's plan. He must be persuasive, yet not forceful enough to frighten her. She is wary, has a natural fear of the needle, has heard of those who get hooked. His argument is a common one. He pours out the convincing ideas. Only squares get hooked. Be an occasional user, a chippy. Just take a joy pop when you want something to take you out of this world. The idea entices her.
I could use a jolt. One little pop. One little pop can't hurt anything.
Curiosity, participation, and now use. The careful, gradual introduction nears a payoff. When no needle is available, an addict may cut the vein with a razor blade and literally pour the stuff in with the bare dropper. Here, the blood indicates that the spike has hit the mark, the vein. Now, with the needle well inserted, the drug is injected. The main line. This is the high point. This is the top of the ladder in this secret and distorted society, dedicated to self-destruction. The effects will begin almost immediately. Out of this world, in truth, it is the beginning of the end. For of all those who dare to take this treacherous journey on the main line, less than 2% ever return. The feeling now is one of drowsiness, since heroin is a cerebral and spinal depressant. The pupils of the eyes contract and remain fixed. Action is slow. Pulse and respiration are retarded. A new convert has made the move and taken the first step that leads to addiction and a new life. A life of slavery, where the drug is the master. Another addict, the convert of a former day, is in need of a fix. She gives the knock commonly used by hypes and pushers. The junkie opens to no one until he is prepared. The evidence is quickly rolled into the cloth and placed on the girl's lap. If it should be a raid, the stuff would be in her possession, not his. Even though she is one of his girls, she is not welcome at this moment. Her appearance could smash the plan that has gone so well until now. But she is in the first stage of withdrawal, and a fix is imperative. He must take the chance. In his favor, his new conquest is beyond rational thought and reason. He explains that she is a novice, has just taken her first pop. The older girl plays along. Another girl in the group will mean more money and less work for the individual. Withdrawal begins with a general feeling of an approaching cold, running nose and watering eyes. The cold seems to grow worse as the body, accustomed to the depressant effects of the drug, returns toward normality. The eyes are up, dilated. Light becomes painful, and the smallest noise unbearable as the nerves and senses are laid bare. The mere cold advances to the flu. The addict soon comes to learn that when the symptoms appear, a fix is the one hope. For within a few hours, the body will be helpless. Nausea, violent coughing, and retching join the pattern. But now, even in the midst of misery, a smile to the novice. A smile wrought from a memory in the vague past. For each victim of this slavery knew freedom once.
Engaged. A happiness I couldn't accept. How many times in these years have I wondered why I rejected all that? To taste life, excitement, kicks. And then the night I got high, a pattern was cut. And now, never to go back. Never to return.
The stuff has been laid out, and he gives her the used, unsterilized outfit to take the pop. He has left the caps in the bathroom, a move calculated to get her away from the younger girl. But the scene of growing horror has unfolded before imperceptive eyes. He hurries now to take the novice out, since he knows that there may be an even greater storm before the drug has a chance to bring the calm. The first shot of heroin usually results in nausea. He knows that activity will only tend to increase the sick feeling, but he chooses that over the chance of her witnessing withdrawals. The addict in the midst of withdrawal from the drug is in a race with time. Each minute is another step toward helplessness. In the enforcement crackdown, fate has changed the pattern. Moving in to apprehend the addict and small-time peddler, the officers miss their target by minutes. Aware that the room is occupied, they prepare the surprise essential to narcotics arrests. They go for the hands. Hypes frequently try to swallow evidence and will get it to the mouth almost as a reflex action. With the suspect subdued, the rooms are searched for other occupants. The chair on which the girl will be placed is first checked for hidden weapons or drugs. No other occupants are found. Now, while the suspect is held under surveillance, a thorough shakedown of the apartment must be conducted to uncover any secreted evidence. This type of search is a specialized task, demanding attention to minute details. Cigarette burns, though not considered evidence, are typical signs of a junkie's bed and clothes. The pillows, mattress, and blankets are checked, especially along seams and hems for caps or bindles stuffed inside. Many heroin containers are small and they are easily hidden in tiny crevices and corners. But every size package has its typical hiding place. Here, a spare outfit is pinned to the outside of a window blind. Officers are schooled to meet the ingenuity of the narcotics criminal. Before opening the window, this officer checks along the inside edge. An almost invisible thread is jammed under the closed window. It is certain to hold a prize on the other end. If the window had been opened without first grasping the thread, the evidence would have fallen to the ground, making it of little value in court. A search must be made under and behind all furniture. Milk sugar used to cut the heroin, a usual discovery. Every towel and piece of clothing must be unfolded, and all pockets, cuffs, and hems are searched. Two factors guide the offender in placing his stash of narcotics. It must be well concealed, yet it must be accessible. Unless he happens to be holding an unusually large amount, he will hide his stuff so that he can get at it in a matter of seconds. The underside of furniture provides the requisite of a usual plant. But such places often yield something other than drugs. Weapons are a common find in a narcotics shakedown. Even the cavity under a lamp may hold evidence, and taped wires may actually be false insulation. A plant hidden under a rug is usually near the edge, so as to be accessible. The pain of withdrawal grows worse, and nausea increases. The addict begs for relief, but the officers are powerless to help. They pity her and sympathize, but the torture is inevitable. These exacting duties in a narcotics arrest are essential, but the officers face this situation under extreme emotional pressure. For the human suffering that is a product of this crime cannot be blocked out or ignored. Their normally demanding task becomes extremely difficult and complex under these circumstances. The details seem endless. A stained, burned spoon, though not conclusive by itself, is valuable evidence when seized in conjunction with narcotics. Narcotics offenders, especially pushers who sell directly to addicts, must deal with a constant threat of theft as well as detection by enforcement officers. For this reason, they usually hide their stuff in small quantities and in numerous locations. Whenever possible, officers look as well as feel into every crevice and cavity available to the offender. And nothing is overlooked. A check is made for lumps or irregularities under the paper itself, as well as inside the roll. Toilets provide numerous hiding places for almost any size package. It is a great risk to submerge a narcotic in liquid, since moisture would dissolve the drug, but it is a risk frequently taken by those in the illegal traffic. This demands a careful inspection of the toilet tank, and there is an axiom. Check the underside of everything.
In here, Dick.
All evidence must be established before the suspect, and her reactions and remarks noted. In some cases, such as this, where the offender is suffering the tortures of withdrawal, the task of establishing evidence is exceptionally difficult and may even seem callous. But it is an essential step in prosecution of the case, and failure to perform this duty would weaken the officer's position in court. One common cache is in the toilet bowl, just out of sight in the drain elbow. A flick of the handle can get rid of this evidence. This area must be checked before the toilet is allowed to be flushed. The fact that a door will close does not mean that it is clean. A bindle taped to the door top won't hinder its operation. When the first officer completes his shakedown, he takes the duty of guarding the suspect, and his partner makes a complete search of the rooms. This method of double checking is routine in all shakedown procedures. Even though the first officer uncovered substantial evidence, his partner may still search some area that was overlooked. In every case of suspected addiction to hard stuff, officers make a close inspection of the offender's arms. Here, the hype wears the telltale marks of the habit. In response to the compulsion, the vein must be punctured with several injections each day. The pop is usually taken on the inside of the elbow, but in time, the vein will collapse, and the hype generally ties off further and further down the arm. As the entire vein becomes impossible to tap, the other arm is used. Then the search for other veins begins. Scar tissue forms on the veins after continued use. Older hypes have been known to use veins on the backs of hands, in the fingers, and even between the toes. When arrested, addicts will often try to burn or scratch scars since they can be used in evidence against them. Often, too, a hype will be willing to show old scars, claiming to have kicked the habit, but a thorough check will usually uncover new marks. The secret knock. Swift action is the key. They get the suspect out of sight, use surprise as their margin. Nothing in her hands, so the purse is searched. Her money is counted and returned. A hype will try anything. Yawning joins the pattern of nausea and retching. Vicious pains begin to grow in the spine and quickly spread into the limbs. Addicts describe these pains as being worse than having the limbs torn off. They often clutch and tear at themselves in an effort to divert the pain. Sudden chills sweep over the entire body. The officer, moved by her suffering, offers what little aid he can. Retching grows worse. Vomiting occurs. The chills are suddenly displaced by unbearable heat. The body feels as if it is literally on fire. The final move is always to the floor, which provides a certain security. A new, intangible pain creeps over the entire body. A strange torture just under the skin. The addict will suffer another 3 to 5 days, unable to sleep day or night, before the pain begins to subside. This is the root of the addict's compulsion. A compulsion to lie, cheat, steal, even kill, to avoid the long living hell of withdrawal. Throughout the day, officers are dispatched by the trained agent to make arrests, with each one leading to another. Thus, the original raid on the juvenile tea party was felt indirectly throughout the entire illegal society. Like dominoes lined in a row, the first one knocked over affected the others in a chain reaction. Next link in the chain, the major marijuana peddler is now arrested. As the day progressed, the pusher addict remained at large, even though his apartment had been searched and 2 of his girls apprehended. Teams of officers are dispatched to stake out both inside and outside the suspect's pad. The size of the plant uncovered in the apartment made it reasonably certain that he would return no later than the time of his next fix. But the hours of the stakeout drag on, and with them arises the possibility that the suspect has been tipped off, perhaps by other tenants in the building. But finally, the long, tedious hours reap their reward. Even after the hype is cuffed, the officers stay alert for trouble. Arrest to the addict means an end to the drug, and time is short before he will need a fix. The ominous sniffing and watering eyes will soon begin. Hypes have been known to throw themselves in front of passing cars or trucks rather than face the tortures of withdrawal. Once in jail, the hype conforms with other offenders taken in the case and supplies investigators with information leading toward still another arrest. The hype's connection, the major heroin pusher. The hype is certain that the pusher seldom keeps the stuff actually inside the malt shop that he operates. But their transactions were always such that he could get to his plant in a matter of minutes. In order to make the arrest, the drug must be found in the possession of the pusher. There will be no needle marks, outfits, or other evidence to support action in this case. Investigators know that the plant is somewhere nearby, and officers are dispatched to search the surrounding area late at night. The hype had seen the stuff in a coffee can on several occasions. The stuff, heroin, a fortune in poison. Protect fingerprints. They may be important. Now the stakeout, the long wait. Maybe an hour, maybe days. And with the light of morning, the stakeout pays off. The pusher has his own way of getting at the stuff. There is no case until the suspect has possession of the evidence. The narco offender is a dangerous felon, and he may kill to effect an escape. This arrest marks the most devastating blow of all against the secret crime. He is the source of supply for the community, the fountainhead from which the crime springs. And he is the most vicious and ruthless member of the society, dispensing a life of torture to others for his own personal gain and greed. But the seeds of this crime blow in the silent wind and take new root without warning. Those who escape detection drift on, carrying the problem with them, spreading it to others. Freedom in the society of narcotics traffic must lead to slavery. All the industry of living is devoted to one end, a shot, a fix, a pop. Nothing else in life has meaning. The addict will sell all her possessions, then finally herself in her drive for drugs. She will resort to any ends, and even murder becomes preferable to the constant overhanging threat of withdrawal. But detection must come in time, and a young girl who sought escape from the burden of normal living becomes an entry on a police blotter. She is an entry past help. She's hooked, a junkie, hype. There is no future. Soon the cold symptoms will commence, the growing pains and tortures of long sleepless days and nights. And the hype knows better than anyone that this is the last of hope. This is the end of the world.